Hello and good afternoon. It is 12:11. It is March 14th. It is Saturday afternoon. I just got home and I wanted to come back and make this video. I have been doing a lot of thinking and I've made some videos and I didn't upload them, but I think it's really important for me to upload this video because I wanted to get my thoughts in order. And I did write my thoughts down on these cards because, there's so many things going on in my mind that I feel like I need to address and be very thorough in it because I'm really tired of dealing with this issue. And the issue really was originated because people, failed to include me in on their discussions. And I want to address a few people here, particularly the white race here in the community, as well as, I guess, I don't know my son's employer, but this could be his present employer, as well as his past employer. I also want to include I think I mentioned the landlord. I believe her name is Juan. Yeah, it doesn't matter her name. Okay, she pretty much knows who I'm talking about. I'm saying this because it's time to clear the air. It's like I really do feel as though I deserve respect in this community, and I know that I have suffered many times dealing with abuse by the hands of you guys. Okay, and so I want to address this very directly. Okay, so in order, and I want to be as thorough as possible. But the first thing I do want to address is I know that there has been issues and concerns. Okay, and a lot of times when people, and this is going to be a pretty long video, but a lot of times when people are really being nosy or they want to be intrusive, sometimes they pretend that they're being concerned about this particular individual. Okay, and when it comes to business and it comes to ethics, I take this very seriously. This is one of the reasons why when businesses use things like, they use things like integrity in their slogan, and they do this, of course, to gain people's trust. And then, from my perspective, okay, you got to understand, I have been on the outside, the outskirts of the world that you live in for a very long time. Okay, and it's unfortunate, and I tell you this with all sincerity. Everything that you guys have built your life on, unfortunately, I'm sorry, but you have been deceived. Okay, and this is quite evident in everything that you do, right down to how you conduct business. And I say this with all due respect. Okay, so the first thing I want to address is, yes, I understand there's certain things that maybe you have been raised to believe. For example, throughout the years, marijuana has been demonized. I do know that when it comes to my past life as CB Braganza, I was somebody who openly indulged in marijuana. And I obviously felt a deep belief in this, okay? I know I must have dealt with not just social consequences by perhaps maybe dealing with people, interactions with people who, might not have felt comfortable in my presence because, they themselves don't do it and they don't understand it. That's a social, what do you call it, a consequence where, it creates issues to where other people may not, and because they don't know how to, act around you. Okay, that's one. Or maybe he actually suffered a legal consequence, which something tells me that he probably did. Okay, and once he served his legal consequence, that's where the end. That's where the buck stops. Meaning that he, that expression, he paid his dues. He paid his dues. Okay, so now marijuana is more understood. Okay, it is more understood instead of just being looked upon as, what do you call it, a social deviant thing. It is looked upon now. I mean, some cultures have looked upon it as a form of enlightenment. It has been known for its healing abilities, its spiritual qualities, and this is one of the reasons why I was attracted to it. Okay, this is my explanation for it. Okay, so I would say that this most likely goes into the category of perhaps religion. Okay, so I do have the right and the right to practice my religion by the what governs the laws here in the United States. Well, not so much the United States, because I know federally it is not really all across the board, but at least here in California, marijuana is acceptable, which means that it is not something that can be penalized. Okay, so penalize, and the only people who have the ability to penalize me would be law enforcement. Now I understand, when it comes to uh, church targeting or bloodline targeting. I am not familiar with that process. Okay, like I said, I'm somebody who studied religion for a very long time. This is one of the reasons why I'm so knowledgeable about things like scripture and how it relates, how I understand how different religions work. I've studied different religions. I've understood how some of these religions that were established broke off and established other religions, mainly off of doctrinal beliefs, okay? Like they might have felt uncomfortable with the idea of getting divorced and then getting remarried. Or they may have had other issues to where it was accepted in one church. And the reason why these different churches exist is because of these doctrinal differences. In my situation, it is no different, okay? So apparently, throughout the years, people have often speculated as to whether I was a genius or not. My genius has been confirmed. I believe it was in sometime in 2008. Yes, I've actually been tested for this, okay? And people were actually acting very sneaky and snide about it, but I remember when it happened. And like a little bit after that happened, I remember an employee just kept looking at me. And I remember thinking, okay, he was looking at me because my IQ is pretty much off the charts. Okay. So the message I'm getting right now is that people are talking about, yes, I really am a genius. And so people were thinking that, well, I know that Maria left school when she was younger, and therefore, they look upon you as a social deviant. There's a lot of people who, like myself, I was the kind of kid, I loved school supplies. I loved, getting my little school stuff together. I was a geeky kid who enjoyed going to school. Okay, and because I was a geeky kid who enjoyed going to school, other kids noticed I was a geeky kid who enjoyed going to school, and believe me, I paid a social consequence for that, for the simple fact that I was a geeky kid who liked going to school. Okay, so I dealt with, bullying, the put downs, the ostracism, and I do recall getting hit by at least two, okay, Mormon boys, okay, boys. Okay, so this is the sort of disrespect that I got from the Mormon church. And I know the Mormon church is quite influential, especially here in Bakersfield, where they started taking notice of me. And this is where we are today, right? Into the modern day. Okay. So I do understand that my landlord, okay, basically, and see, here's the thing, okay, I'm throwing all of this out. The reason why I'm doing it is because I'm tired of game playing. I'm tired of not being on the same page. I am not going to give you any wiggle room to sit here and create any strategic plans. I'm tired of it. Okay, and I have every right to stand up for myself because what's going on in this community is an absolute nightmare. Yes, first of all, I think it's important for me to say that yes, I have always believed that the mainstream Christianity is the mark of the beast. Okay, but before I go into that, I'm going to address this issue with the landlord. Okay, now maybe the landlord might be a different religion than me, and that's very possible. I do know that some Jehovah's Witnesses came by my house. I do remember making some videos before, specifically stating I do not want to have anything to do with Jehovah's Witnesses. And I'm doing this to be peaceful, okay? And when you set a boundary and you say something like, okay, I'm not comfortable, and I have the legal right to say that, I am not comfortable with this particular issue. Could you please not do it again? And when somebody repeats that, then guess that's considered to be harassment. So I want to end this right now, okay? And maybe they were trying to be, helpful because I was trying to figure out what they're here for. Some of these people are interested in the fact that, I'm somebody who is obviously making an impact, and they were just wanted to be near me and they wanted to see what I was about. Also, they are somebody who are acknowledging the fact that I'm addressing this issue because this issue relates specifically to white supremacy. And they are now, the people who were enacting this are starting to understand just how far they went. Okay. So when it comes to and just how far they went is you guys went around and you want to create division with people and talk to people, and maybe you've used, and throughout, and just like everything else in the historically, you guys have used churches like the CIA, Fusion, Masons, and all this other stuff to communicate this issue. You wanted to create some sort of divide, with a racial divide, with me just so happening to be the only genius black person here in the community. And so then you want to recruit a lot of people, and because white people, they may not have enough numbers, and they thought they can empower the Mexican or the community and all this other. I'm not interested in playing your power dynamics. Okay. Now, I was somebody who was very serious about my work, and I understand that you devalued my work. And who's to say what was going on in your churches? Okay, maybe your churches were talking about, because even I'm gonna be upfront, and I understand how human nature is. Okay, because even if, let's just say, for example, you were saying positive things about me. Okay, even if you said, okay, and I want you to think back in like grade school. Okay, we all are familiar with the teacher's pet. The teacher's pet, the little kid who always does everything right. The teacher's always praising and using this particular person as an example. So let's just say, for example, you were constantly saying positive things about me, right? She's so intelligent. She's so this, she's so that. Okay, believe it or not, that could create bullying, even if you are saying things that are positive about people. There's nothing wrong with giving people their props or acknowledgement, but you continually do that day in and day out. Every single time you make a person the focus of attention by constantly saying positive things, this is going to cause inner rage in people. Okay, and this is something that I have noticed, and you probably have noticed it too, if this is the way it was. But I do believe that there was a lot of churches that weren't saying good things about me, and what it was something that was highly racial targeted. And what they were trying to do was deny me my rights and respect of who I am as a person. Okay, and this came down into the workplace, okay, with the bullying. So now we have it, so where I believe everybody is familiar with what happened at Murray Family Farms. I held up my end of the bargain. This went out into the community. Okay, and the reason why it went out to the community, and now I fully understand, this was a church orchestrated thing with people who were collaborating with the kids that I was, the adoptive family that I grew up with, as well as Bruce Collins, who didn't have anything, should have never had anything to do with me. Okay, but you guys were basically holding me captive, as if holding me prisoner and denying me my rights. And when I realized how deep the rabbit hole went, this meaning going back, understanding the cloning issue, and then who I was, who was involved, how all of this, okay. And then I realized this was a religious issue, how deep it was. There's a lot of people who ended up who thought that this was a big enough deal to literally devote their life to this, which I mean, this is disturbing to me. Okay, so I understand that this was a big bullying campaign that took place. Okay, and I'm disturbed by it. Okay, I am very disturbed by it. Okay, so what ended up happening was this escalated. This community issue, not was just in the community. This is like worldwide. People know who I am worldwide. Okay, and so you recruited people, and this is one of the things I'm talking about. I keep saying the McCarthy era. There was a time where people got really paranoid in the community, and this has been going on for a very long time. It's just what you guys are doing, is how you guys are strategizing your communications and manipulating my life in the same way. That is illegal. Okay, and I've been making videos about this. I know that you guys talk about me, and then you think that you have some sort of right to penalize me. And see, maybe you feel superior towards me because maybe there's some sort of hierarchy within your church system. Okay, I am not a member of your church. Okay, and because we do have freedom of religion, you can talk about me and see me however you want to in your church. But when you enact these sort of things out to me, I have the legal right to take action. Now, I do know that you guys have ostracized me. You have abused me. You've tried to, make it so that I look like I was a bad person. I didn't deserve any of that at all. Okay. I have been an upstanding citizen from the very get-go. Now, maybe we have differences, doctrinal differences. There could very well be the case, but I'm not accepting of how you treated me. Also, the message I'm getting right now is something about. I'm going to get to this later, okay? Because see, what I'm dealing with, I understand how the cloning ops work. But let me first of all, before I go into all of that, I do want to address this issue when it comes to the landlord, as well as my son, as well as his employer and his past employer, because I want to make sure we're all on the same page. Okay, now in the month of November, something happened to the rent money. Okay, and it's like nobody wants to account for it. I do believe that those funds were misappropriated, whether it was done directly through the payroll system or it was taken directly out of my son's bank account. Either way, okay, if it went to the kids who were bullying me, like maybe the high school kids, or maybe it could have even went to a celebrity. And the reason why I say this is because some of these celebrities do not have access to money. They are being very much abused, and nor do they have an understanding of the monetary system. They seriously don't. Okay, and by doing that, or however you guys did it, okay, and then trying to make it so that you're putting our lives in jeopardy because I don't follow your religion or whatever, you're going against the law. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because apparently this is how you have run your businesses for a very long time. Okay. And yes, you do have your own business. And a lot of people have this arrogance about them, like, well, it's my business. I can run it if I want to, right? And that's your right to have your own business. And then in the state of California, I mean, I say, is that I have the right to be a tenant. I have the right to have a place to live. Okay. Now, like I said, this is the reason why we do not, there is supposed to be separation of church and state. This is how the country was formulated. Okay, so then we have to have some sort of common ground. And these sort of common grounds are basically reason why we have things like contracts and agreements, okay? And none of those things involved what you did, that transaction that you did. Okay, so if that's the case, then why am I paying a legal fee? Like I said, what you're doing is you're trying to create some sort of social consequence to me, and what that is wrong. Okay, and the reason why I'm bringing it out in the open is because you're abusing me. Okay, I also get the intuitive message, and the reason why I'm being very clear about my intuitive messages is because I understand that we're talking about religion here. Okay, and because you and I are on the same page, you might think you a lot of times people in your situation, because you guys are strength in numbers, would like to say, oh, you're saying doing this because you're mentally ill. Why should we believe you? Because blah 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 blah. There are many other religions outside of yours who focus on the supernatural, and yes, it is the supernatural is what religion is derived from. Okay, so I want to make sure we're all on the same page. Okay, so what I'm saying is that what you are in the wrong is what I'm saying to my landlord. Okay, if this is a situation, you are in the wrong. Okay, and the reason why I'm telling you this is because you and I'm tired of people walking over me. Okay, I do not take a prominent place or position within this community. Okay, in spite of the fact that I am of royal descent. And apparently this is the message that I'm getting in my from my intuitive messages, that this is what's getting discussed in the churches. Yes, I am. Me and my son are of royal descent. Okay, but we don't go around bragging about it. Okay, nor do I even go around talking about it. I only talk about it in my videos because this is a part of my targeting. You know what I mean? And my targeting came from the church. Okay, so anyway, a lot of this has something to do with the kids bullying me in childhood. Okay, so what you value in your life doesn't necessarily mean that I have the same values. Okay, so like I said, maybe if you thought, because what you guys were trying to do was trying to humble me. Okay, you wanted to take away my car, you wanted to do this, you wanted to do that, and then you think it's okay to do that's kind of abuse to another person. Okay, and and you had no legal right to do that. And the message I'm getting right now is something about the public education system. Okay, let's talk about that, right? Yes, legally you are supposed to go to school. Okay, you and let me tell you what's how important this is. Okay, now legally you're supposed to have a general education from I believe general education starts from kindergarten all the way to 12th grade. That's what you have to have at the minimal. At the minimal. Okay, and no, I left school early, okay, but I finished later on in life. I got a general education diploma. I completed my contract. Now, yes, I did go to college. No, I do not have a bachelor's degree, but the thing is, college is not legal. See, call your general education is what is required. You have to go through that. This is one of the reasons why if you see kids going out of school during out school hours, like a truancy officer can pull them in, they can detain them, they can do whatever they want, they can reprimand them, and most importantly, it is their parents' responsibility if the kids are ditching school. Okay, this is what makes it a legal problem. And there have been some counties that actually discussed this issue many years ago about holding parents accountable for kids who weren't going to school. Okay, so yes, it is legal. Okay, but as I got older, yes, I did complete my requirements. Okay, but see, the thing is that what I find offensive about you, my landlord, is apparently I'm getting intuitive messages that you make this a part of a discussion with my son. Okay, nowhere on the contract does it say anything about that. So what is it? You want to size me up? You want to see if what I'm talking about is credible. Is that what it is? Because you're like, well, if she's where is she learning? You can learn information anywhere. Okay. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. I'm an autodidact. I don't rely on the school system. Okay. I have developed who I am into who I am. And that's completely legal. Okay. And really that you went up, that was not your place to ask my son. I would appreciate it if you would not sit here and have these discussions with my son. Okay. If you wanted to converse things with my son or whatever, and I think that this is church related, again, I'm not a part of your religion. The message I'm getting right now is all the things that I have predicted relating to conspiracy theories, relating to religion, have been played out and unfolded in front of everybody. So we can't act like this isn't happening. So I'm glad I'm talking about this and I am posting this up. Okay, I also want to talk about this issue with Paul McCartney. Like I said, I remember seeing a consider a mockumentary, okay, a mockumentary about this 1966 occurrence of the original Paul McCartney, who ended up getting in a car accident and he ended up dying, right? So then they needed a replacement and they ended up, finding a look-alike. So I found it kind of entertaining. I took it with a grain of salt. It's a possibility. Anything can happen. I didn't say it was. I didn't say it wasn't. Okay, one thing I know, I've seen this person throughout my entire life. I've seen him. I've enjoyed him as a solo artist. I like who Paul McCartney is. It doesn't really matter because he has talent anyway. Okay, but it's the point is the fact that that would be totally possible. Okay, when you consider the cloning system. Okay, and unfortunately, the cloning system is associated with Nazi experimentation. The cloning system is associated with people like Joseph Mengele, and it's done some pretty weird stuff. And this is where the church and this whole thing collides. Okay, I'm pretty damn disturbed by it because I recognize it for the inhumane practice that it is. Okay, so, and I know that there's been some sort of talk about this sort of stuff, about me being a clone, and this is one of the reasons why you feel like you want to bully me. I really find it offensive. Okay, I look at the cloning system as exactly what it is. It's criminal. Okay, it is a crime. Okay, to me, it is criminal, and I'm very grateful for the Japanese people who have recognized it for what it is. Okay, so the other message I'm getting right now is that, so going back to my landlord. So my landlord, you know that you are responsible for this issue about withholding my son's money, and then trying to make us pay again. Okay, and then I also think that you were inquiring to my son about how I take care of myself. Okay, are you one of those jealous catty bitches that want to create problems because I'm tired of you? Okay, the message I'm getting right now is something about me stepping outside of the system and enlightening, and then me getting the truth. So yes, you might be associated with some of the kids from high school who wanted to bully me, who were trying to force me into suicide. Okay, because you guys don't like the fact that I eat apples, because I do this to maintain my health, not so much for physical health, but pretty much because I cannot go to regular doctors. Because guess what? My bloodline has been targeted. Okay, there's reasons why people do things and they don't want to sit here and highlight it and go all into it, and they have the right to. It's called, being private. It's called confidential. It's called having respect. Okay, and what you do is you disrespect me, and I don't appreciate it. Okay, and asking my son to know that, to get information about me. I don't talk to my son about personal information. I'm right now. My son is starting to see who I truly am. Seriously. Because when it comes to me and my son's relationship, I only want my son to think about cute things, enjoyable things, things that he wants to enjoy. Okay, I've only wanted to create a decent atmosphere for my son. I never wanted him to know about my problems at work. I never wanted him to know about any of that. Okay, I just really hate the fact that you sit here and you you intervene in people's personal life, and you're intrusive. You're intrusive. Okay, and you damage people with these sort of conspiracy things, and then trying to pit my son and creating religious turmoil. I will tell you, I'm not somebody who accepts your religious belief. Okay, for that reason. Okay, and what you're doing is illegal. The other message I'm getting right now is that many people do acknowledge that I am right about the CIA, the Masonic collaborations, Christianity, politicians, and everything else. Yes, I'm right. Okay, and there's many top politicians and celebrities right now. I'm getting intuitive messages that they're traumatized, but they're also kind of glad that they at least know who they are. Okay, the other message I'm getting is yes, the public education system is definitely agenda driven. Okay, it is definitely agenda driven. Okay, and it is what it is. Okay, and so I've understood this for a long time. A good example of this is one of the reasons why so many people disrespect people of color is because you guys ignore all of our accomplishments, just like you're trying to blot me out now. Okay, and they do this in the history books. Okay, we pretty much built the entire United States. Where is that written in the school books? Nowhere. And I'm not bringing this up to try to create a racial argument because I've known this before. And with all the knowledge that I understand about Black history, I could have been one of those people who were just like, all into Black supremacy and starting fights with white people, but I never did any of that. Okay, but I'll tell you, there are some white people who just could not get their mind, could not leave me the hell alone. Okay, I've been nothing but peaceful in this situation. Okay, so the public school system, not only about racial issues, but about a lot of other things. It has created a group of ignorant people. And I am not the only person who's noticed this. There's been a lot of people who've written about it. There's been a lot of commentary about it. And it's been talked about, not just now in the modern age, it's been going on for quite a long time. Because a lot of people look at these so-called college students and they look at it for what it is. And I'm just one of them who've acknowledged it. Not only have I acknowledged it, I've experienced it. I worked alongside these people. I've been, had to interact with a lot of these people who have the mentality of, let me show you how it's done. And then this whole thing was an epic fail. Okay. So you do understand, and I want to be upfront about this. I understand that you have to make it in this community, and you have to live and exist and everything else. If you choose your religion, then you have that right to have a religion. But I choose to also have a religion, and I choose not to be a part of mainstream society. That's my choice. Okay, and I already made a decision about that back in the 90s. I said, I don't like mainstream society, so I've decided to ditch out on it. And the message I'm also getting is something about me and my son. Yeah, I do not like the idea of, if my son chooses to have grandchildren, then that's his right. He's an adult. Do you understand what I'm saying? He's an adult. That's his right. Okay. But in my opinion, I know that throughout my time here in Bakersfield and other employment agent places, I have dealt with nothing but a nightmare. The workplace is a nightmare. Okay. And this is one of the things that a lot of kids are supposed to, we get talked into looking forward to doing, going to work and all this other stuff. And going to work is just nothing but a nightmare. Why? Because there's poor management there. And because people don't know how to manage, they have bad people skills. And no offense, but this is exactly a good example of it. My landlord doing a bunch of illegal stuff and then collaborating with other people, you create and you perpetuate a toxic environment. And this is the kind of stuff that happens in the workplace because people don't know morals, they don't know boundaries, they don't know respect, they don't care about the law, and they sit there and they use the religion as an excuse, but they don't really demonstrate any sort or exude any Christ-like consciousness. In fact, they do quite the contrary. Okay, so no, I mean, it is what it is. So until the earth changes, and yes, I do talk about the new earth because, I think what people need to understand here in the community, especially churches talking about my bloodline. Yes, I am the bloodline of King Solomon. I am the clone of King Solomon, and King Solomon, the character of King Solomon, right, was the one about the story about his wisdom. He was known for his wisdom. Okay, the story of, the two women who were arguing about the baby, and because he wanted to cut the bullshit and wanted to acknowledge who the real mother was, he was the one who said, okay, let's cut the baby in half. He had no intentions of killing the baby, but he knew the real mother would cry out, and the real mother with her love would rather give up her child to somebody else. Okay, at least the child would be alive, right? But she cried out. She's like, okay, well then just give it to the other woman, right? Because she loved that child. Right, the other one was like, well, if I can't have the baby, fuck it. And that was her attitude. Right, so that right there determined whether or not who got the child. Right, so my family has been written, me and my father have been through the cloning system, have been heavily monitored, uh, and written about throughout the ages. Our biblical, our bloodline is based in the Bible. Okay, and so anyway, and we do not want to have grandchildren, and the reason why, and it's a good reason why, because the world is not a good place. And I'm not the only person who's saying this, but I would say I probably started the conversation. There's a lot of people who are starting to think about this. Yeah, a lot of people who are trying to work 3 jobs just so they can pay the rent, get food, stuff like this. It's maybe you guys think, and I do believe in being fruitful and multiplying. Okay, but see, being fruitful and multiplying, that's the key. Okay, being fruitful, that means being productive. Okay, being abundant, being rich in resources. Okay, and that ain't happening. Okay, that ain't happening. And so I also want to clarify this nonsense about what people, these misconceptions about what people think that, oh, I can just like wrinkle my nose like Samantha on Bewitched and instantly I can come into money. No, it doesn't work that way. See, what everybody in this community, because you guys you want to talk to everybody else except for me. You guys have, come up with these assumptions that aren't true, and you've created a nightmare. Okay, like I said, when it comes to me and my son is just now starting to understand who I am. Okay, because I never really wanted to show him that side of my life. I never wanted to tell him I'm dealing with bigots at work. Okay, the reason why I'm in my room all the time stressed out is because I'm dealing with the bigots and they're trying to force me out of a job. Okay, It was my responsibility to not to shield him from all of that. Okay, and then you guys want to involve him in that. Okay, and I'm resentful of it. Okay, no, I didn't raise my son to be religious, and I resent the fact that you tried to creep in and have your influence in my life. The message I'm getting right now is something about Ringo Starr, and something about what I say has credibility. Yes, okay, everything that I have studied throughout my life has credibility. Okay, and I believe what you guys, a lot of what I was dealing with was what I call educational arrogance from my high school bullies. And when it comes to the landlord, you may, and when this whole issue started, I don't know if my son changed employers back from November to whatever. I don't know because I don't ask him. Because as far as I know, when my son leaves the door, all I do is pray because I feel as though we are living in an environment where I always worry about if I can trust people or not. Okay. So I don't know if it was, it was a different employer at the time or whatever. Okay. But I'm tired of dealing with people making up issues and then somehow making us suffer for it. Okay. And I do believe that that's what you did, my landlord. And the message I'm getting right now is that yes, Christianity is the mark of the beast. And yes, it's true. Okay. And then also, I do know that Elon Musk was involved in this. Elon Musk was somebody who didn't like me, never saw a woman possibly live like I did. And the reason why I live like I did is because I don't have family. And see, this is what I need the landlord to understand. I am cutting off all ties with people who I used to know. And the reason why is because I am a victim of MK Ultra. These are people who knew that who I was when I was a kid, who decided to bully me anyway. Okay, so the very fact that they took that kind of action to me, I'm going to have to put, walk away from them. And if you are people who are sitting here and aiding and abating my abusers, I'm going to ask you to stop. That's not proper. Okay, the message I'm getting right now is something about Ringo Starr. And there's talk about people thinking that Ringo Starr has a crush on me. Maybe he does, okay? But if perhaps maybe my landlord is trying to punish me because Ringo Starr has a crush on me, that's childish, okay? Also, something about Elon Musk. Elon Musk probably didn't like me because people were probably petting me against Elon Musk, and they shouldn't have done that. Whatever competition you guys want to play, I don't want to play it. And the reason why is because I seriously, I have certain vowels that I refuse to get involved in. And anything that relates to worldly, childish bullshit is something I completely reject. The message I'm getting right now is that people accept me and my son as we are. I'm glad. Okay, I'm just not. I do believe that it's everyone's responsibility to live the best quality life that they possibly can live. And this is the reason why I do believe in self-love. And maybe Elon Musk never understood that. And maybe some of your churches never understood the reason to why people should do that. Okay, because in reality, we are the only ones who can give love to ourselves. Okay, we are the only ones who can give love to ourselves. The message I'm getting right now is that yes, the public education is agenda driven, and yes, that Paul realizes that the Billy Shears possibility. Like I said, I'm not saying it is right or it is or it isn't. I'm just saying is okay, it's possible. Okay, especially knowing what they can do. Okay, I know that I have a twin, and I know that Joseph Mengele was obsessed with twins. Okay, he experimented a lot on twins, and I do have a twin sister. She's actually, what do you call it, a fraternity sister? I think that's what they call fraternity. Yeah, where she's got, she looks a lot like me. She wears her hair natural, and she looks a little different, but her facial features I can tell, right? And then I also have tiny teeth on the side that never formulated like the way adults' teeth are supposed to formulate, and she has the same kind of teeth. So I do recognize her as, and I also understand that I'm related to, I believe, I'm related to Tracy Ellis is my half sister. Which see, and that's terrible because really, I always think families should be warm, and I'm terrified of her. And the reason why I'm terrified of her is because of this whole thing, the whole MK Ultra thing. It's weird to me, okay, and I'm not comfortable with it. Okay, and I'm outright disturbed by it. And when I think about people, I understand Diana Ross and everything, and I look at her as a person. That Diana Ross is my biological mother, and I look at her, and I think she might be a relative. She might be related to. She might be. Okay, I don't know. I mean, I could go find out, but like I said, this whole story makes me sick to my stomach. It all makes me sick to my stomach. Okay. But Diana Ross, and no disrespect to her, but see, I'm somebody who respects and values family, and I can't imagine somebody just being a breeder in that sort of capacity and doing something like that. And maybe, I understand how forceful and the nature of the church was, and it has been. It's been very barbaric throughout the years. She may have been forced to do it. Who knows? You know what I mean? The church is weird. The message I'm getting right now is it is believed that I can improve the school system. Yes. When I think about the school system and how it started, the school system had to start from somewhere. Okay, number one, and a lot of the early pioneers in education were not formulated or what do you call it, formally educated. I had talked about some writers, for example, like for example, Mark Twain. Mark Twain really wasn't educated, okay, but you notice his books were considered required reading in the education system. Now, how does that work? Like I said, people don't really ever think about how the school is set up. They just don't think about it. But it's silly, but it is. Okay, it is what it is. So yeah, I am somebody who represents alternative living. Okay. So yes, me and my son have been recognized as royalty in the churches, and this is one of the reasons why this creates a lot of bullying in the community. Um, it is what it is, and that's unfortunate. Also, people have been talking about my hair. Yes, I do. I would say I trim off my ends as much as I possibly can, and I used to put relaxers on my hair. I have not put a relaxer on my hair now. That is my choice. Okay, I just decided, what, I'm not going to relax it because obviously they cut off my money supply. So then I ended up cutting off a lot of my hair and it was in the trash can. And the reason why I would say the only difference between not relaxing my hair and relaxing and not relaxing it is I will say that my hair does look thicker. It does look thicker. Okay. But it does take a lot of maintenance. And what I mean by that is like, if it gets hot and sweaty, then my hair starts getting frizzy again. And then I got to straighten it. And I don't like straightening it every day because it gets brittle. And then that's when you're going to deal with breakage. So it is what it is. But I do know that, I would say getting your hair done every once in a while is a normal thing. That's normal. And the thing is that, once you do these things, I don't expect other people to hone in on it. But see, the thing is, I'm also understanding is that people are looking at me a lot. And the reason why is because there's a lot of stories going on about me. And I'm not really comfortable with all of that attention, but it is what it is, okay? But yeah, it is my hair. Also, the message I'm getting right now is something about my school system of improving family structures. A lot of people do agree with that. Yes, the family structure is in a mess, okay? And I would say throughout the years, the church did play a big role in that. I mean, there's been a lot of marriages that have been established and have been nightmares because of maybe church members trying to force you or trying to encourage you got to meet so and so, or arranging kingdom spouses to come strolling in your way. And then some of these marriages have been, I believe in compatibility. It's not that, and now I don't like talking about the subject of marriage because it gets people thinking about who is Maria going to marry, and I would really appreciate it if people just leave me alone on that issue. Okay, but I do believe that marriages should be established. I would definitely marry for love, definitely love, definitely. I love, and no, not money, and no, I would not care if the guy if I fell in love with somebody who didn't have a formal education. I would be fine with that. Now, the reason why these people are bitch about it is because, oh, you're royal. You're royal. Royalty doesn't get me doodly squat, so I don't care about it. Okay, to me, what matters to me is I like a certain characteristic in a man. You know what I mean? A sweetness in a man. Somebody, I don't like pompous behavior. I don't like any of that stuff. Okay, I just like a simple person. And I would say, and no, I'm not looking. I'm just saying is I'm talking about compatibility. Okay, obviously, if I love my stuffed animal, a man would have to love my stuffed animal or my. And I will tell you, when I was with Joel, though, he was the best animator of Cabby. He animated Cabby like you just will never believe. Okay, and so it's these sort of things, the compatibility. And I understand maybe the church is interested in like building, power couples and stuff like that. I am not a power couple type person. Okay, and there's nothing wrong with people, but I used to be ambitious, right? Because I believe in my ideas. You know what I mean? I believe, and I am going to still keep Gordon's Occupational Engineering in my newsletter. I want to be very clear about this. Yes, Bakersfield employers have the right to make their standards. I mean, what I'm saying is you don't want me to work in your company. And I think that's upsetting. That's upsetting that I got rejected like that. And I know why. It's because of my race. Unfortunately, I've gotten tired of trying to look for work in your nightmare hellhole place. So, it is what it is. I'm going out on disability because of the abuse that I've received in your nightmare hellhole places. So if somebody wants to hire me somewhere down the line, maybe I will not be disabled forever. We'll see how it goes. Okay, but yes, I'm somebody who should definitely have my hand in business. Why? Because I know what I'm talking about. Okay, I am somebody who is very good at combining psychology as well as law. And then I do understand that a lot of people are already taking my ideas. I just saw a commercial for and yeah, my ideas have been circulating through the business world forever. You know why? Because people monitor me and they I am the blueprint. That's why. Okay, so I just heard an advertisement for a college that was talking about being more hands-on, using experience. Where the hell do you think that came from? That came from me. Okay, so whether they implement it well or not, we'll see about it. I know how I'm going to try to talk about it, and we'll see what happens. Okay, but I believe in my work. Okay, and I will probably, when it comes to inventors such as myself, nobody ever said that Thomas Edison died a rich man. They probably stole the shit from him and then and called him a philanthropist. He could have died on a park bench penniless. I mean, I will tell you, this world is ruthless. Okay, it is ruthless. I'm telling you. Okay, but I enjoy inventing. I enjoy creating, and I'm somebody who does want to create a manifesto. This is one of the reasons why I have a newsletter. Okay, and I do believe that I have the right to come up with a solution. And so what's wrong with that? And so the little bits and elements will most likely be featured in the moral reset is going to be in the feature the Swan Manifesto. And then when it comes to like rebuilding, that's actually called laying the foundation. This is talking about actually improving the school system. If I'm going to create it and I'm going to pitch it, I'll pitch it or just keep it. So the message I'm getting right now, something about me being in my grocery cart, something about the right, something about the CIA, mind control, and people are in shock. Okay, something about that, and then something about the things I predicted, conspiracy theories relating to religion, all played out in front of everyone's face. Yeah. And then something about the public education and the agenda is agenda driven. Yes, I recognize that. And that me and my son are living together. Yeah, so I think what Wanda was trying to do was trying to tear apart me and my son. Okay, and it had something to do. Maybe she wanted me to marry Ringo Starr or something along those lines. Please stay out of our personal life. Please do that. Can I please just get you to do that? The message I'm getting right now is something about bullying and yeah, the bullying. Please do not do that. Okay, your job is to call yourself integrity. People do need really people do need to have work and collaborate and work with companies that do have integrity. And they use this word all the time to gain trust, and then they end up betraying that trust. Okay, what I need is a landlord that collects the rent. Okay, and I do think that the landlord talked to my son about my doll. Okay, you're going a little too far. And the message I'm getting right now is something about the bullying, the childhood bullying, and how it escalates. Okay, yeah, knock it off, please. Okay, the message I'm getting right now is that many people are healing from MK Ultra, and people are thanking me and giving me many well wishes. And so, yes, no more collaborating, discussing things with my son about these sort of things. Okay, let's handle the rent issue. Okay, I will let you know what's going on with the rent issue this upcoming week. And in the meantime, stop communicating with my son on issues that relate to me. Okay. I understand you want to know about me. What is it that you want to know about me? What I'm trying to understand. Something about my son likes my father's operation, and you know that Ringo Starr has something to do with me. You did get my email about the welfare office, so my appointments are going to be on the 16th and the 17th. I will send you an email and let you know. Something about many people within the community, as well as worldwide. people are knowing and starting to look at their life and coming to realize that they're MK Ultra survivors. A lot of people have been adopted, and maybe they weren't close to their families, and they're starting to realize they're getting it. They're understanding. There's a lot of people who need psychiatric help possibly right now, and if there are people who are already in the psychiatric field who have been working alongside the beast system, what I'm saying is working as a spy, I don't know what to tell you. Okay, I really don't know what to tell you. Okay, I don't know what's going to happen with all that. You know, it's very difficult. It's very difficult for people to get healed when there's always those little conspiracy things. So anyway, the message I want to wrap this up with, I don't want to go into name calling and finger pointing anymore. When I talk to the landlord, I just want to get on with my life. Okay, I find the fee that you're assessing questionable. Okay, I am requesting that the welfare office pay the 2 months rent. I think my son has some money. We're withholding it until we figure out what we're gonna do. Okay, if they pay the money that I'm requesting, then you will definitely get your fee. If not, then I think we should ignore it. You know why? Because we should have never been assessed before. If you want to discuss this, to discuss it with whoever that your little three the group. I was going to call it a threesome. I know what I mean by that when I say that. But you know, some people might try to accuse me of saying something. What I'm saying is, if my son's employer is involved in it, and then my son, and then you guys all talk about it. However, okay, whatever, figure it out. Okay, but I don't want to be a part of that. Okay, and going forward, please do not sit here and try to bully me. I'm tired of it. Okay, stop trying to make me live a life that I don't want to live. Okay, I don't deal with your religion. I don't want to be a part of your religion, and you need to respect that. The message I'm getting right now is something about the public education system. And yeah, okay, good. I'm glad people understand that. Okay, so anyway, yes, the message I'm getting right now is that a lot of people are healing and happier with dolls, and I'm very glad that they are. You know, and so what a lot of people, they want to take my ideas, and what they're always worried about is the fact that, oh, she's not a bachelor degree person. You know, is her stuff credible? Well, you know, take it or leave it. But the point is that everything that I talked about was proved out in the open. It cannot be denied. Everybody knows what I'm saying is true. Okay. So anyway, the other message I'm getting is that many people agree that earthly life pursuits are not worth it. I will say the workplace, and you know what makes it feel that way is people like you. Okay. I'm referring to my landlord and people who do illegal stuff like this. Okay. You guys are a part of the problem. Okay. And instead of you need to change that. Okay, it needs to be changed. Okay, because I feel betrayed by you. Okay, I feel betrayed by what you just did. I don't feel comfortable with you. Okay, because what I feel is what you did was you tried to attack my home, and then you tried to attack my son, and then you abuse my son. And like I said, this is all through intuitive reading. So if by mere chance I'm wrong, then just and I find out, that I would apologize. Okay, but if I'm not, I have every right to say this. And when you're dealing with gang stalking or human trafficking or something this serious, you have to understand I have every right to address this issue because it's life threatening. Okay, it's not a joke. I will not take this sort of stuff lightly. Okay, so anyway, so yeah, the landlord knows what I'm talking about. Okay. So any other message I'm getting right now is that something about you do understand social responsibility, and you do understand that there is a more ethical way of being. Okay. I want to make it clear that I do understand that the community and other people are saying that they're sorry about and they forgive me for not getting my 4-year degree or finishing school at the time. Like, for example, when I left high school or whatever. The thing is that I don't have anyone to apologize other than to myself. Okay, and see, the thing is, like I said, the only reason why I wanted to do that is because I wanted to be a CPA. Okay, and I'm not going to be a CPA, right? As a matter of fact, I don't even think I'm going back to the workforce. And if I do go back to the workforce, I will do so under Gordon's occupational engineering. Okay, and that means I do not have to fit an industry standard. An industry standard is what you guys. If you guys said, and well, she has to have a bachelor's degree, I don't have to have those. I don't have to have those stipulations. Legally, I have the right to have my own business, and I don't need it. I can operate without it. Okay, so the church is overstepping their boundaries. Okay, and this is what I'm talking about. Okay, and my landlord overstepped her boundaries. Okay, because your only job is to rent me my place, Your job is to upkeep the place. Your job is to collect my rent money. Okay. What I do and what my hair looks like is none of your business. Okay. And something about, okay. And then I think what she was trying to do is she was trying to abuse me and trying to act as if I could not get certain sorts of forms of assistance based on my hair. Okay. And what you did was wrong. Okay. What you did was wrong. Okay. And that's a form of bullying. The message I'm getting right now is something about, yeah, I understand the public education system. My son was not, he was only publicly educated up to kindergarten to 8th grade. And then he did a curriculum in high school, and then he went to Taft College. Okay, so and that was our choice. Okay, and it's legal to do that. As a matter of fact, if people want to pull I'm not encouraging people to pull their kids out of public school, but you can you legally, you have the right to pull your kids out of public school if you have other options of what's important is to educate them. But I will say is that people do look at you suspicious, and if the churches were behind this, okay, then the churches were trying to force other people to accept public school or private religious school. You know what I mean? Whatever the case is, I have the legal right to not be a part of your religion. Okay. The message I'm also getting is that a lot of people do realize that it is weird to be adopted and then be told that you're find out you're a clone and all that other stuff. And something about it is clear that you guys putting these stipulations on my life, you have to respect my rights, and I am very offended by what you did. Okay, something about me and you guys making up this lie about me being able to manifest money, and then me not being able to get a job, and then yeah, all that was a lie. You guys made that up, and that was a part of the school bullying. Okay, it was a part of school bullying. Okay, and you had no right to challenge my spiritual belief system. Let's just say, for example, I really did believe that. Okay, I have the right to believe that, because we're talking about prayer, we're talking about religion. Okay, but mind you, that's not how it works. I think that story was exaggerated. You know, you guys made it seem as though I could just sit there and blink my eye and get a job. It doesn't work that way. And so you guys wanted to prove it. What you guys must have done, you must have believed it, because what you wanted to do was trying to act as if, or try to block my money so that you could say, oh, see, she's wrong. See, I didn't ask to play those sort of games. Okay, and you had no right to do that. So I need you to understand that. Something about my son. My son's talking about. He's talking to the landlord about me getting assistance, and something about the school system, and that yes, I'm somebody. I only go by laws. I don't go by religion. Okay, so I don't really see what. Okay, something about me going to the store, and my son likes my father's apparition, and that we're accepted in the community as we are. Something about white people do not want to be labeled as racist, and something about the bullies in childhood. Okay, it has been demonstrated that the bullies in childhood can escalate, and this has been properly demonstrated by me. Okay, please. Okay, my landlord, no more. Okay, at this point, everyone that I am cutting ties with my past. Okay, this is another issue when it comes to things like restraining orders and stuff like that. Um, I don't know who exactly you're talking to, but if you are trying to operate or spy on behalf of somebody that I need to get a restraining order from, I would ask that you stop doing it. Okay, the message I'm getting right now is that me and my son are accepted as we are, and that I believe that you're going to not do the dumb game off right now. Okay, as a matter of fact, like for example, if you were in communication with somebody that was abusing me, this is what I'm talking about: getting people who support stalkers. Okay, stalkers, human traffickers, people like that. And if my landlord is doing that, I need you to stop doing that. Okay, because you're in violation and you're breaking the law. Okay, and I don't know who it is specifically who's stalking me. I suppose I could sit here and try to figure it out. I got the intuitive message that 949 is gone by now. Okay, but when it comes to people who were once recognized as family members, I am no longer recognizing it. I'm traumatized by all of this. So I am a woman who is all by themselves. I am basically an orphan. I do not have a support system. I am all by myself. And really, what I should have is some sort of legal, what do you call it? A restraining order in place. Okay, I need protection, and I do not need my landlord participating or assisting my stalkers. So please knock it off. Okay. And so your church and your gossip has made me very vulnerable. I am a woman all by myself, and you've caused me nothing but problems. Okay. The other message I'm getting right now is many people are making it acceptable to admit to leaving school. Okay. Something about Paul McCartney. Hi, Paul McCartney. Hello, Ringo Starr. The other message I'm getting right now is people are amazed that after leaving school early, I could solve. The only reason why you're amazed is because you fed into that lie. Okay, and they want you to fall into that lie. Okay, but no, uh, people have been educated long before the school system. As a matter of fact, many of the things that we learned in the school system were written by what you would perceive to be uneducated people. Okay, it's mostly people who have developed or researched information or developed a talent, a skill, a research method, or whatever, and then they end up explaining that information and giving that out as students. Okay, so no, I do not, I don't believe any of that. As a matter of fact, like I said, I live an alternative lifestyle. Now, what I don't, I know that you guys might have tried to force my son into being a specific religion or whatever, but I don't go into that. Okay, we don't go into that. Okay, right now I'm done with the community game. I'm putting it into it. So let's just stop it. The message I'm getting right now is something about a trip to the store. Yeah, I went to the store today, and something about education system, and yeah, me and my son living together. Yeah, me and my son live together. Okay, and at this point, I don't really trust anybody in the community anymore. Okay, and I would say people like you, my landlord, you helped to do that. Okay, and I'm not comfortable with you talking to my son about stuff. And what you did, you violated my trust. You violated my trust. I do not trust you anymore because what you do not collaborate with my son, do not strategize with my son. You abused me. That's abuse. Okay. I don't know where you learned that from, but that's very COINTELPRO-ish. Okay. Knock it off. Okay. And then don't try to make my son, bully me, monitor me, or any. And I do believe that you were trying to use this as some sort of religious excuse. Okay. We're not religious in this household, not of your religion. Okay. So please stop it. Okay. And the message I'm getting, something that you were bullying me to about the Swan Song Manifesto. That's right. See, there's so much elements to this. The people were bullying me because they were probably supporters of the Kids of 533 and the Collins family. And then you guys hated me, and you hated my bloodline, and you were pissed off because I was a black woman with intelligence who was writing credible information. And being white people who always steal people's idea and want us to use for self, and you wanted, that's what you wanted to do. And the very fact that you hated me and wanted to enact your punishment on me for that reason tells me that this was a racist attack, and it's also bullying. Please knock it off. Okay. Apparently, you're dealing with some social issues now. My landlord might be dealing with some social issues as a consequence to her actions. Okay, so let's see how you're going to be acting in the next few months if you're going to be a credible person, because you have the ability to salvage your reputation. Okay, if you can stop doing unethical things. Okay, maybe people will start looking at you differently. Okay, I'm not playing the game. And see, you're upset because I'm calling you out. I had to call you out. Okay, I'm tired. I don't need to put up with any more bullshit. Okay, you should not have started the bullshit to begin with or participated in it. Okay. Um, I already talked about the high school thing. And yes, the bloodline church, to the churches here in this community, if you want to talk about me, I would refrain from doing that. You know what I mean? People know who I am in this community, and you cause problems whether you're saying something positive or negative. Okay, and you could all be racist white people saying negative things about me. I'm trying to be as peaceful as I possibly can. I don't deserve this. So the message I'm getting right now is that my story proves how bullying in childhood can escalate, and it has been properly demonstrated. It has. Okay, and these same bullies, okay, anybody from my past who is sitting here trying to hurt me, harm me, or whatever, I need protection from. Okay, I don't need people taking instructions from them, and I do suspect that my landlord did this. So if this is what you're doing, I'm going to ask you to stop. And if my son is aware of this game, then I'm going to ask you to stop. And apparently the message I'm getting is yes. Okay, so he knows that you're lying, and then you know that you're lying. Everybody knows that lying. So all you have, the only thing that you have to do right now is to get straight, meaning knock it off. Okay, something about Ringo Starr. If Ringo Starr has a crush on me, well, that's sweet. Okay, that's very sweet. But I know it is what it is. Okay, Ringo Starr's over there and I'm over here. And if you might be one of these people who might be jealous and competitive of it, you know, what I mean, I would say Ringo Starr is a very appealing person. So is Paul McCartney or whatever. They're Beatles. They're always going to be people that people look up to and respect forever. Okay, and you might be like, oh well, she's got this, and so you want to hurt me because of that. I don't want to play those games. And what you're doing is a form of harassment, if that is indeed true. Okay, if that is your answer. Okay, so you're going to have to learn how to deal with your feelings. Okay, I'm tired of dealing with it. And something I get the intuitive feeling that you are indeed associated with the people that I used to know. So let's knock it off. Okay, we need to get along, and it is what it is. So I want to take care of this rent issue, and I want to move on with my life. Okay, the message I'm getting right now is I am saying about my son, like the bloodline. Me and my son accepts the bloodline. Okay, yes, my son is biracial, and I do understand. My son, I would say, me observing my son, I would say that my son acts white, or he reminds me of a white person. Okay, but there are certain things that he gets from his mom. It is what it is. Okay, my son is biracial. Okay, and when you sit here and talk about this or try to do things and tell my son to try to, you're creating racial division in my own home, and that's not acceptable. Do not bring your racist crap in my home ever again. And the message, the card I'm getting right now is yes, Christianity is the mark of the beast for real. Okay, so now that you know and we have identified what this is, please knock it off. Okay, I think I've covered just about everything, and I am going to go ahead and wrap up this video. Yes, I love nature. You know, I like going out to the park, sitting in the trees, and enjoying the sunlight. Okay, those are some of the very few things I enjoy in this shitty world. I certainly don't enjoy the people. I'm gonna wrap up this video, and I'll be back with another video sometime later. Take care. Bye bye.